Hello and welcome. My name is Ajaxpost and we're here looking at Transport Fever 2 in my Get to Know series, and this one is looking explicitly at how to create a multi-consist line. As you see here, as exemplified by this train, a line which carries both passengers and freight. It should be possible. We can create modular stations with both platforms for freight and for passengers. But how can you ensure that your lines can actually deliver both types of cargo? I'm going to be creating 3 of these little videos, one for trains, which is the one we're here with now, another one for docks, and another for airports, all of which have their own peculiarities in the way you set up the stations and routes. So how have we got this done? The main thing to look at, and I'm actually going to stop the train for a moment and go to the other end of this line to show off what we're talking about. So this is how we might have created our basic multi-purpose station. We have a passenger platform here on the right hand side, and on the left hand side a cargo platform. Now the building here is in fact the cargo main building, which suggests that I created this initially as a cargo station and then added the passenger options to it as an additional feature in the configuration mode. And we will look briefly at configuring these stations towards the end of this video. Now this building type doesn't actually matter too much. It could be a cargo building here, or it could be a passenger building for sort of the main grand entrance to a passenger station. It doesn't really matter which it is, as long as it can connect out either to the street or to another vehicle type station, such as we've got here a bus and cargo truck station. As long as this building can connect these platforms to another stop or to the street, then it will function perfectly well. Passengers will walk through it and cargo will be transferred through it as well. It may look a little odd having passengers walking up this ramp, but it works. Aesthetically, you might want to change it so it looks better, but functionality doesn't matter at all. It could be any type of building which allows access to the street. Okay, now this type of platform layout will simply not work for one line. If we had 2 lines, one line delivering passengers, one line delivering cargo, that wouldn't be an issue at all. But we cannot have a single line delivering to both platforms at the same time, because the platform is not adjacent to that track. Now, interesting point actually, I'm just wondering. No, it won't. It won't. The thought occurred to me, if I just had one track and 2 platforms either side, it still won't work. What you need to do is actually have the 2 types of platforms along the same length of track. And this is because, as we can see here from these icons, we have actually 2 stations here. It's not one. It may look like one site, but effectively it's treated as 2 stations. We have the passenger station, which I've named Bilbao Passenger, so I know what it is when I'm setting up my route, and the cargo station, Bilbao Cargo. Apologies to any genuine Spanish speakers for my pronunciation of the names of your towns on this map. I thought it was a nice idea to have a Spanish map, then realised I can't actually pronounce Spanish words or names. My apologies. Okay, so we actually have 2 stations here. So the route needs to actually go to both stations. It needs to go to the passenger station and the cargo station. They are not the same place. In fact, if we look at the cargo station here, we do see we have 2 terminals. We have Terminal 1, which is down here on the sort of entrance to the station, and Terminal 2, Platform 2, the lower station here, the lower platform here, down there, whereas on the passenger station we just have the one terminal, which is the passenger platform on the top side here. And likewise, at the other end of the line, in Benalmádena, I think it's called. Yep, that's about right. Again, apologies for pronunciation. The platforms are running along into each other. So we're along the same track. So again, we have the passenger and the cargo station, which I've named separately again just to make the line easier to manage. Okay, and in between we have a cargo stop which is a construction materials plant, so this train will pick up passengers at either end and drop them likewise at either end, and in the middle it'll pick up cargo to deliver to both ends of this particular route. So let's have a look at the route. And as we can see here, let's actually start at the top of the route here. It starts off at the passenger platform in Bilbao and picks up any passengers there wishing to go to Benalmádena. It then goes straight past the cargo platform because there's no cargo there to deliver, goes on to the construction plant, picks up cargo destined for Benalmádena, and here its first stop is the passenger platform to deposit any passengers from Bilbao and pick up any that want to go back from Benalmádena. And I'm not pronouncing that at all well, am I? Sorry. And then stops at the freight hub, the next platform along this line of track, and it drops off the freight is picked up from the construction plant. And it then heads back, because it's now full of passengers, hopefully, and empty of cargo, and picks up again from the construction plant any construction materials destined for Bilbao and delivers them at point 6 on our route at the cargo stop before heading further into the station to deposit the passengers there and pick up any that want to go back. And that's it. That's what you need to do to make sure your dual consist, your dual function, your dual cargo train consist will actually function. It needs to run from one platform to another. It cannot cross over within a station. One thing you'll notice here about the station at Benalmádena, I will one day pronounce it correctly, is that I do have two buildings here, one for cargo, one for passengers, but I think, oh no, the passengers do appear to be, because the passenger platform is there, they do appear to be mostly working through the passenger building rather than the cargo building there. But as I said earlier, it doesn't really matter which you use, both will function for both types of cargo. And there it is picking up the construction materials to deliver those off into Bilbao. And we'll just again watch it as it goes through. Stops off at the cargo stop. 86 grand for delivering the bricks, the construction material. The passengers are still on board, so heads off into the passenger platform and should hopefully make a modest amount of money from passenger traffic as well. 120 grand, that's rather nice. Picks up any passengers going in the opposite direction, and the whole process repeats itself. It'll pick up Conmat heading for Benalmádena, and so the loop goes on. Okay, then that's how you create a multi-consist route. Let's have a look at actually some of the issues around creating such a modular station. So as we've already discussed, we have actually two stations here. We have a passenger station represented by the passenger platform here, and we have a cargo station represented by the two cargo platforms either side of these two tracks. And as we've said, we can name both of these, and I do recommend that's a good idea, so it helps you when you're planning your routes to make sure that when you're clicking on a station you're actually sending your vehicles to the right location for the consist that they will be carrying. Okay, so a look at some of the ideas with train station configuration. So let's get into configuring this. Okay, so here we have all the things we can add to our station. One thing to notice is you can take things away. So if you don't like, for example, this cargo platform here, we can, just using the bulldozer icon here, which applies to the configuration of the station. It's not a general bulldozer, so if you, just to go back, if you try and use a general bulldozer, you are deleting the whole site, not individual modules of the particular station itself. So if we're in the configure, this bulldozer is just for that little bit of the station. So let's take that out. I don't want that there. Now, one thing we can do here at the moment, we have two platforms in our cargo station. What if I wanted 3 or more? This applies equally to passengers as well as cargo. So let's just actually extend our track. The station track is quite separate to ordinary track. You see, you can't configure the ordinary track that you lay down in track laying mode, and for platforms to use track, that track must be part of the station itself. You must use the tracks loading the tracks here to actually attach them to platforms for use. So in fact, let's leave it like that. In fact, let's put in some more platforms, some cargo platform. So if I put some, trying to find the correct spot to click it is sometimes tricky. Is put that in there. And we'll come out now for a second. Now what I've actually got here is 3 cargo platforms now. So if I go into the cargo station, terminals, I now have 3. Now this can be useful if you've got a through station, for example, and you've got trains coming in from one side of the station, you've got trains coming in from the other side of the station, and you want them to both arrive at the same time perhaps, but you don't want to have too many tracks going through, don't want to have too many platforms and so on to spread your station out. You want to keep it nice and sort of compact. So what you can do, in fact, is you could have trains coming in from this side, from the left hand side of the map, and stopping at platform number 2 here. Or you could equally have trains coming in, if we had a through station, trains coming in from this side of the station and stopping here at platform number 1. Now this is a sort of thing you might see in large mainline stations. We certainly see it in the UK, where a length of platform is actually given 2 different numbers. Platforms 11 and 12 are actually the same piece of concrete, the same length of track, but they're divided for management purposes. Now the only way you can achieve that in Transport Fever 2 is to leave a gap between the platforms. If I was to run these platforms together, I would lose that separation between the 2 platforms. So if I stick that back in there, so because this is now contiguous, it's one long platform, I've lost that 3rd extra platform space I had. Now, of course you could equally have, so you could of course have trains coming in from the same direction, with one train stopping at the top end of the platform and another train stopping at this 2nd platform. Let's get rid of that platform actually. That extra length, and we'll get rid of you in the middle. There we go. So we could have a train stopping here at platform 1 and another train coming in again from the same direction stopping at platform 2. That in real life isn't a big issue when you've got a schedule to keep to, but because Transport Fever 2 does not have any timetabling or scheduling features, you could come unstuck by doing this, because perhaps the train coming into platform 2 stops before the train for platform 1 comes in, so it's got to wait outside here before it gets to platform 1. There might be ways around that, but it's going to be potentially a logistical nightmare. Okay, in terms of buildings, as we've seen, both cargo and passenger buildings will service both types of platform. They don't really mind it. That's essentially an aesthetic issue for you. One little thing to notice, I think this only applies, yep, it only applies to passenger buildings. There is one particular type of building here, which is the 2nd small building. The small side building does not give you access to the street. Now if we just notice the difference here, if I use the small building, it actually says that with street access. The thing to notice here, when I drop that down, if you can make them out, those dotted lines, those routes being shown through the building. So this one goes along the platform, it connects to the platform on the left hand side, and there's also the route out of the building on the top right hand side there that you can see. And in fact, if I put that there next to the cargo platform, sorry, the cargo building, sit, will it sit? There it goes. You can actually see it continues the route, the sort of traffic route along that building. So it's a way of extending the length of your platform in terms of street access. So it might extend the reach the what's the word I'm looking for, the catchment area of your platform by extending that building. Now notice that that's the building with street access. This is the building without street access. If I can drop it in there and there and zoom in slightly, so you can see the traffic lines, the dotted running lines. I've lost it again. They're going along the platform and connect to the platform, but there's no line going out the back of the building. So this will not serve to give you extra street access. Although it might work if you attach it to another building which does have, if I can do that there, which does have street access. So there you can see that street access, and you can see that's highlighted here by those blue and yellow connectors, highlighting that this building has access to the street, or in this case to this bus and truck stop. One other final thing to notice here is if we, I want to stay in there, let's get rid of this cargo platform and replace it with a passenger platform. There we go. So now we have two platforms at our passenger station here. But there's no way for passengers to get across. So this platform here has no street access, and passengers arriving from the bus station here have no way of getting to this platform. If you're going to do that, you need to make sure that the platform does have passenger underpass. So we just slip that on both platforms. Slip that on both platforms. There it goes, and there you can see the running traffic lines now show up that passengers can travel between those two platforms. Click there and there, and that will allow passenger traffic to go between those two platforms of the station. And if we like, we can even put canopies on there. Just to give them some protection from the bad weather. And the other thing you have is, if you don't want a whole building, you just want some passenger steps so people can just walk up to the platform, you can put some steps in there, which again gives you street access to that platform, to the station. So we can then run a street up to that bit of platform. Oh, there's no road, never mind, we'll just run it up and show. And there you see the blue connector lines signalling that this very bad bit of road does give passengers access to that station. Finally, do I just want to look at the cargo buildings? There's a whole variety of them. You can have full kind of warehouse type buildings, which are, oh, as you can see, enormous. That won't fit in there, but it might fit in over there. Or you can have small buildings which basically provide ramps for vehicles to come up and take goods off the station platforms. So you've got a whole variety of ways of configuring. That's the smallest and neatest. I really like that one. So we just put him in there and show how he, there it goes. So again, he has street access. He let's be gender neutral here. That piece of building, that ramp, basically allows access to the street, to the platform. So it's a very nice and simple, cost-effective way of getting goods away from your station or onto your station platforms. So that's it. I hope this has proved useful to you as a way of creating your mixed consist train lines. The main thing obviously is to make sure that your platforms are reachable from the same track, or at least the route can navigate from one platform to the other without some odd turning around in the station, which it simply won't do. So if you've got any thoughts or questions about creating mixed consist stations or mixed consist routes for trains, then do please drop a note into the comments box below. It'd be great to hear from you. If you're interested in how to do the same sort of thing with boats and aeroplanes, I've created two other little videos which will show you how those work. It's very much the same sort of idea, the same sort of process, but again there are one or two little issues with configuring those stations that you may need to be aware of to make sure you actually get it to work properly. So from me, Ajaxpost, here in Transport Fever 2, thank you so much for joining me for this little video, and I will see you again soon. But until then, bye bye for now.